Hey, so this is just a quick video about a very simple Numitron clock. So this here is, well, a Numitron clock, of course, and it's one of my first or second electronics projects I ever made. The first one that I had with PCB printing from a fab house, actually. And it's also my first 3D printing project. So you can see the 3D printing is kind of crap with all these delaminations between the layers. Back then I didn't really get the settings right, and I didn't know you couldn't like print this big of a box directly without some tweaking of the settings. But I mean, I kept it as is, as kind of like a nostalgia kind of thing of my first project. It's kind of made to be like, I guess, clean looking with no screws on the outside. All the screws are kind of hidden on the bottom there, and the top kind of just slides off. So you can see there's a little compartment up here where the little red thing holds a coin cell battery for battery backup. And then you could change the time by clicking one of these numbers, clicking one of these buttons actually, which selects between the hours or minutes, and then you can click and hold to change the time, or change it more slowly just by clicking it individually. And I'll show you the circuitry later. There's also a little room here to slide a little acrylic piece in for like a acrylic see-through window, but I decided not to do that after the acrylic was too costly back then. I mean, this is this is like my first electronics project, and also I was a student back then without any money, so cost savings. Here's a more modern version. This is the internal circuitry was actually built by my grandparents, which are like 80 years old. So I taught them how to make their own clock, and it uses a better circuit. But I mean, the circuitry, of course, it's still a very beginner-like circuitry using an Arduino this time. This is PIC based, but they don't know how to use a PIC, so well, I guess it's a bit harder to use a PIC. Whereas the Arduino, you could just plug and play. And I didn't go with the whole hiding the screw design this time because this box was made like in an hour, because they just really quickly needed a box, so I just slapped one together in SolidWorks. But see, it kind of worked pretty well. There's still some bit of sanding to do, like I need to sand some of these edges so that this stays more flush. You can see that this side is actually way better, it's completely flush, whereas this side it kind of sticks out a bit, so there needs to be some sanding there so I could get it to be completely flush. And also there's some unfinished parts, like this column segment is kind of about to short itself, so I need to wrap some like plastic around that. But otherwise this box is pretty good. They use a different time change system where one button changes the hours and one button changes the minutes, with the added bonus that if you click both of them at the same time you can change both times if you want, whereas you can't do that with this clock. But this one, if you have more digits for, like, let's say you have date month, for date month year, whatever, day month year, you need more buttons using this mode, whereas in this mode just one button selects the mode and one button selects the time. You can do that. And I'll show you the internal circuitry real quick also. So I took apart the outer casing, so there's outer casing, to show you the insides. And this is my grandpa's clock that I showed him how to build. So it's very simple, real-time clock. And he has an Arduino for his controller, like right there, back there. And you got the shift registers and latches and some buffers to power the Numitrons, because they're a bit high current, you can't drive them from an IC. But otherwise, extremely simple. Basically a very good first electronics project for anyone. And here's the case for it. You can see all the components are just all screwed together. I'm using a bunch of thermoplastic inserts on the inside pieces, and then the screws just screw in, and then this gap is for the little nubs sticking out of the back piece here. Here's the innards of my old clock. So back then I didn't even know of a shift register with latch combined into one IC. I didn't even know that existed, so I used separate latches with separate shift registers, and then there's the buffers at the other end there, and then it's actually one shift register. So it's kind of like multiplexing the shift registers to the latch. So you will enable one latch, shift in the data, and then latch it onto one memory latch, and then repeat with all the other 3 latches left. So kind of like that. It's a bit more basic. But the power supply on the left there, you can see with the inductor, the red inductor, is a switch mode power supply, so for higher efficiencies. But very basic design again. And then there's a control. The controller is actually on the power supply too, with a little pick. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see, but very basic design, very simple, and highly suggested as a first clock project. and also maybe a first 3D printing project. See, it kind of can do better with the 3D printing. But yeah, thanks for watching, and let me put these back together.